The scent of coffee wafted through the sunlit kitchen. Melanie Wilson checked the clock with practiced ease as she flipped pancakes, 7:15 a.m. The family would be coming downstairs soon. Outside the window, Lucy, their golden retriever, was romping around the garden. The modern white kitchen was neatly stocked with ingredients from last weekend's Whole Foods shopping trip. As Melanie cooked, she recalled that morning 3 years ago. Her former husband James had said, "I'm heading out a bit early," and never returned. The police said visibility was poor due to rain, but the exact circumstances of the accident remain unknown to this day. "Good morning, Mom." Footsteps thundered down the stairs, accompanied by Olivia's cheerful voice. With a poise unusual for a 7-year-old, she settled into her dining room chair. A white cardigan over her lavender dress, her North Street Elementary School uniform was always impeccably worn. Her hair remained in the French braid Melanie had carefully plaited the night before. "Good morning, young lady. Today's pancakes are special, I added plenty of blueberries." Melanie stroked her daughter's hair while plating the warm pancakes. The blueberries were organic, found at Trader Joe's. Their sweet tart aroma filled the kitchen. "Gregory, coffee's ready. It's Blue Mountain today." Sounds emerged from the master bedroom upstairs. Soon, Gregory appeared in his suit. At 42, he looked remarkably young for his age. As a senior researcher at Pfizer, he was developing new medications for childhood emotional disorders. With over 15 years of research experience at Boston University Medical School, he was known in the industry as a brilliant researcher. "Thanks, Mel." He kissed his wife's cheek and gently patted Olivia's head, saying, "Good morning, Princess." His gesture carried the natural affection of a biological father. The pristine white kitchen. The well-maintained garden visible through large windows. Tulips that Olivia had planted with Gregory were beginning to bloom around the red picnic table. On the surface, it was a picture-perfect morning scene. 1 year into her marriage with Gregory, Melanie sometimes wondered if this happiness was a dream. Though she had 15 years of experience as a pediatric nurse at Greenwich Hospital, she had struggled to balance work and childcare as a single mother. Taking Olivia to ballet and piano lessons, doing everything alone had been harder than she'd imagined. Gregory had appeared in her life like a savior. Their meeting at Dunkin' now seemed fated. The hand that steadied her when she nearly spilled her coffee had become a pillar of support for their family. Most notable was his dedication to Olivia. He approached her with such natural affection that it never felt like he was a stepfather, and Olivia gradually accepted him as her new daddy. He was well regarded at the PTA as an ideal stepfather. Whenever he came up at book club, Melanie could feel the envious glances from others. But small discordant notes had begun creeping into their perfect daily life. It started with the bedtime ritual. "Mel, let me handle putting Olivia to bed. It's important father-daughter time." Every night at 9, Gregory would head to his daughter's room with these words. He always added, "Please don't interrupt." At first, Melanie hadn't read anything special into these words. New fathers and daughters need their private time to bond, she thought. The church counselor had advised the same. But lately, Olivia had been changing bit by bit. She'd become reluctant to get up in the mornings. She lacked her usual energy after school. She often skipped ballet lessons, saying she was tired. Her teacher reported that her concentration has dropped. "It's just growing pains," Gregory would say. All children go through phases like this. My research shows that around age 7 is a crucial transition period. His words weren't medically incorrect. As a pediatric nurse, Melanie understood this. But this morning too, Olivia had barely eaten half her pancakes. "Aren't you hungry?" Melanie asked. "I'm sorry," came the quiet reply. In that moment, her maternal instinct raised an alarm. But her nurse's rationality immediately dismissed the concern. Objectively, there were no signs of serious problems. Just last week, their family doctor, Dr. Brown, had given Olivia a clean bill of health. It must be her imagination. Trying to reassure herself, Melanie began clearing the breakfast dishes. Outside, birds were chirping, heralding the arrival of spring. She heard Gregory's car pulling out of the garage for work, and Lucy barked a farewell. Another day was beginning. The changes became more pronounced as spring gave way to summer. Melanie noticed it one June morning. When she went to wake Olivia at the usual 7:15, her daughter was already dressed in her uniform, sitting on her bed. Usually, it took 2 or 3 attempts to get her up. "You're up early." Daddy said good girls wake up early. Something felt off about that response. Olivia's voice was flat, as if playing back a recording. Greenwich's early summer was unusually humid. During her commute, Melanie met her colleague Sarah at Duncan. The two had been close friends for 10 years, working in the same pediatric ward. "How's Olivia doing?" Sarah asked. "Oh, she's being very good." "Very good." "Well." Melanie carefully chose her words as she explained the changes in Olivia. The unusual obedience. The lack of emotional expression. And the bedtime ritual. "What do you think, from a professional perspective?" Sarah had 20 years of experience as a head nurse. Her opinion would be an important factor in Melanie's assessment. "Honestly, I'm concerned." Sarah set down her coffee cup and continued. "It's not natural for a child's personality to change so suddenly." That afternoon, at the North Street Elementary School PTA meeting, Ms. Anderson, Olivia's teacher, shared some worrying observations. "I'm a bit concerned about Olivia," the teacher chose her words carefully. "Her class participation has decreased dramatically, and she's spending more time alone during breaks. But strangely, her homework is perfect, and she follows all the rules." After returning home, Melanie discussed this with Gregory. In the living room, Olivia was practicing piano. Even her favorite pieces now sounded mechanical. "There's nothing to worry about," Gregory said in a gentle tone. "If anything, she's maturing. My research shows that children this age go through significant changes. Being able to control their emotions is actually a sign of healthy development." Something about those words struck her as odd. Emotional control, was that something to expect from a 7-year-old? The following week's health checkup. Dr. Brown said there were no particular issues. Blood test results were normal. Though her weight had decreased slightly, it was within the normal range for her growth period. However, her maternal instinct continued to sound like an alarm. One July night, Melanie stopped outside her daughter's room. 9 o'clock. Gregory's Daddy and Olivia time. Faint conversation could be heard through the door. "If you're a good girl, there'll be a special gift." "Yes, Daddy." About our special time, with teachers and friends. I won't tell anyone. The next morning, Melanie tried to check Gregory's papers in the home office. Perhaps there would be clues in his pharmaceutical research work. But the documents were perfectly organized and locked away. 15 years as a nurse. Melanie had seen countless children. Cases of abuse. Children of drug-addicted parents. And she knew that the most dangerous cases were those of sophisticated abuse by perpetrators with professional knowledge. One day, returning from church book club, her neighbor Linda called out, "Melanie, you're so lucky. Having a husband like Gregory." "Yes, I suppose so. Especially how he handles Olivia. I've never seen such an obedient child." Those words struck Melanie's heart. Obedient. Was that really a sign of happiness? On the way back from Whole Foods, Olivia unusually spoke up. "Mommy." "Yes, dear. Am I being a good girl?" That question froze Melanie's heart. Her daughter's eyes had lost their former sparkle. In their place was an empty, obedient gaze. The traffic light ahead turned green. Should she drive straight home, or? Gregory would knock on her daughter's door at 9 tonight. And then the ritual would begin. In Melanie's mind, her nurse's rationality violently clashed with her maternal instinct. At the end of August, Gregory left for a 3-day business trip to attend a conference in Boston. "What about putting Olivia to bed?" Melanie asked. Gregory appeared to think for a moment. "Well, it's fine, just put her to bed normally when I'm not here." Melanie found his response unsettling. The bedtime ritual he usually never compromised on, he was somehow easily making an exception. First day of the business trip. Greenwich was still gripped by late summer heat. "Olivia, it's bedtime." 8:45. A bit earlier than usual. "But Daddy says 9. Daddy's in Boston, remember? Let's go to bed early today." Walking up the stairs, Melanie observed her daughter. An unusual restlessness she never showed normally. A fidgety attitude, as if waiting for something. In the bedroom, Olivia quickly dove under the covers. "Don't you want a goodnight kiss?" "No, it's okay." That response pained her mother's heart. The old Olivia would have always begged for a kiss. "I'm staying with you tonight." Melanie sat on the edge of the bed. "No. Daddy." Olivia's voice was trembling. "What did Daddy say?" "Nothing." Olivia seemed unusually tense. Even after 9 o'clock, she wouldn't sleep. Rather, she was in an abnormal state of alertness. Sweat beaded on her forehead, and her body occasionally trembled slightly. "Are you feeling sick?" "I'm fine, just, without the usual medicine." Those words sent a chill down Melanie's spine. "Medicine? What medicine?" "I don't know. Daddy gives it to me every night." Around 10 o'clock, Olivia's condition suddenly changed. Sudden nausea. Severe headache. And uncontrollable trembling in her limbs. "Mommy, I'm scared." "It's okay. I'm calling an ambulance." Greenwich Hospital emergency room. The fluorescent lights seemed unnaturally bright at midnight. "Mrs. Wilson." Dr. Murphy, the attending physician, entered the examination room with a grave expression. A female doctor in her 50s. She and Melanie were acquainted. The blood test results are in. The air in the examination room seemed to freeze instantly. We need to notify the police. Multiple psychotropic drugs were detected in your daughter's blood. This shows signs of long-term administration. The monitor displayed shocking test results. High concentrations of ADHD medication, residual traces of multiple anti-anxiety drugs, evidence of continued sleep medication use. These drugs can cause serious side effects when interacting with each other, especially when administered to children. Dr. Murphy's voice seemed to fade away. Greenwich police detectives arrived at 2 in the morning. Two of them, one a veteran in his 40s, the other younger. "Ma'am, could we check your husband's study?" Back at home, Melanie's hands trembled as she opened the door to the home office. Her nursing knowledge amplified her fear of what they might find. Evidence emerged from drawer after drawer. Drug inventory. Detailed administration records. Notes documenting Olivia's behavioral changes. And vast amounts of data stored on USB drives. "These appear to be experimental records," said the younger detective, staring at the screen. "An unofficial clinical trial on emotional control in children. Behavioral modification using multiple drug combinations." The phone rang before dawn. News that Gregory, who was supposed to be at the Boston conference, had been apprehended at the Canadian border. Then another call. "My name is Elizabeth. I'm Gregory's former wife." The voice on the phone trembled. "3 years ago, I fled with my daughter Sophia. By sunrise, Olivia had finally fallen into a stable sleep in her hospital room. The monitor's beeping had returned to a steady rhythm. Melanie held her daughter's small hand, desperately trying to process everything that had happened. The signs she'd missed as a nurse. The warnings she'd overlooked as a mother. And the long road to recovery that lay ahead. Outside the window, an ambulance siren faded into the distance. Birds began chirping, announcing the start of a new day. But this morning would never return to those familiar breakfast scenes. It was both an ending and a beginning. Her nursing knowledge began constructing treatment plans. Her maternal love wove hope for her daughter's recovery. Greenwich dawned with its usual tranquility. But somewhere in this town, another perfect family might be hiding something behind their mask. Melanie made a firm vow. She would make this experience count for something. Now it was her turn to save someone else. Gregory Stein's trial began on a December morning when the first snow fell. Greenwich District Court. Media from across the country gathered at the century-old imposing building. The headline, "Pharmaceutical Researchers' Experimental Abuse," had already become a major social issue. Before entering the courtroom, Melanie took a deep breath. Beside her stood Elizabeth, who had rushed from Massachusetts, and her daughter Sophia. Deep shadows still lingered in the 13-year-old girl's eyes. "Ready?" Elizabeth asked gently. "Yes, of course." 3 months of investigation had revealed one shocking fact after another. Gregory's experiments had begun more than 10 years ago. A suspicious death in Minnesota. A disappearance in Boston. And his first victim, his own daughter, Sophia. In court, Gregory displayed an eerily calm demeanor. "I loved them," he said. A murmur ran through the gallery. "Modern children are too emotional. Too unstable. That's why I used a scientific approach to create perfect children. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence. Detailed experimental records found at home. Drug combination plans. Meticulous data recording behavioral changes. And unauthorized drugs taken from Pfizer's research facilities. The defendant's actions weren't mere abuse, the prosecutor spoke forcefully. This was a premeditated crime using children as test subjects. On the witness stand, Melanie struggled to control her trembling voice. My daughter is slowly returning to her old self. But sometimes she wakes from nightmares, terrified of Daddy's time. Her voice caught. The courtroom fell silent. The drugs have caused some memory deficits. But one thing is certain. Melanie looked straight into her husband's eyes. You tried to steal children's smiles from their lives. The sentence, life imprisonment. Plus permanent revocation of his medical license. 1 month after the trial, Melanie began working in a new department at Greenwich Hospital, the Child Abuse Prevention Center. A new project utilizing her experience. Mom, what are we talking about today? Olivia asked from the back seat. Twice weekly counseling. Still a long road ahead, but steady, sure recovery. Today's special, Melanie smiled in the rearview mirror. Sophia and Elizabeth are joining us. At the Greenwich Community Center, Melanie would speak publicly about their experience for the first time. Perfect families don't exist, she began. The room fell silent. But wounded families can find happiness again. After the lecture, Elizabeth approached her. Your courage will surely save someone. I don't want our experience to be in vain. Spring winds rustled the street trees. On the way home, Olivia spoke up. Mom, I started drawing again. Really? What kind of pictures? Family pictures. You and me and Lucy too. That night, Melanie gazed at her daughter's new drawing. A big house. Blue sky. And 2 smiling faces. Not perfect, but filled with genuine love. Stuffed animals lined the bedside, like in the old days. No more need for medicine. Outside the window, the full moon shone quietly. And a new morning was about to begin. Good night, Melanie kissed her daughter. Good night, Mom. Her voice had regained its former warmth. Greenwich spent another peaceful night as always. But this experience would surely change someone's life. It was an ending, and a new beginning. In Greenwich District Court, under cold fluorescent lights, Gregory Stein rose for his final statement. I loved them, he said. His voice was disturbingly calm. In today's society, children are raised too emotionally. Unstable, uncontrollable. As a scientist and a father, I only tried to find the perfect solution. A moment of silence. The courtroom air froze. My research would have contributed to humanity. Creating perfect children. Perfect families. That was my dream. The jurors' expressions changed. Before the prosecutor could stand, Melanie's voice rose from the witness stand. Perfect families don't exist. Her voice was strong, yet trembling. The bonds you tried to destroy will only grow stronger now. Because, that's what real family means. The judge's gavel echoed. Life imprisonment. Permanent revocation of medical license. and compensation orders for the victims. 6 months later in Greenwich, Olivia was starting a new school term. Counseling continued. But smiles were gradually returning. Now you could hear her playing with friends in the park. Sometimes, even her old bright laughter. Melanie had intensified her work at the Child Abuse Prevention Center. Using her experience, she gave weekly lectures. Her words were definitely changing lives. "Mom, look." One evening when Olivia returned from school. "I drew this in art class today." It was a family picture. Melanie and Olivia. And Lucy the golden retriever. 3 smiles shining under blue skies. Not perfect, but filled with genuine love. More surprising developments followed. Elizabeth and her daughter Sophia moved from Boston to Greenwich. The two families nurtured new bonds while sharing their pain. Every weekend, both families would shop at Whole Foods, then share meals at the picnic table. The children gradually reclaimed their true selves. "We're going to be all right," Elizabeth said to Melanie. "Yes. Now it's our turn to protect others." A new morning dawns in Greenwich. Here lies happiness that doesn't strive for perfection, just as it is. 2 mothers and 2 daughters. And 1 dog. Their story has only just begun. Those words that echoed in the courtroom still remain in their hearts. Perfect families don't exist. But if there's real love, that's more than enough.